So welcome back to the Royal Club. Thank you for joining us from around the world. Thank you for all your beautiful comments, questions, and all that. So tonight, we are going to continue our interesting subject. Today, we are talking about children. Children, yes or no? So, of course, that's not a serious question because children are yes. But is it yes for everyone? Because there are some people who hold the belief that everybody should have children because Bible says you have to multiply, you have to fill the earth. And of course, we don't debate that for a minute, but I want to examine this particular question, children, yes or no, because I am of the serious belief that perhaps not everybody should have children. Just looking at how some people live, most of them can't even take care of themselves responsibly. And you can just look at their offsprings, who they raise, who they don't really raise. So, but I want to preface this whole panel and this whole discussion that it's a club. We are discussing our experiences or our opinions, and it's our own opinion. We don't say that this should be yours. So everybody's entitled to their own point of view. And I also want to say that I don't have children. I never really wanted to have any. I grew up in a big family. I love children. They love me. I know how to handle them, but I don't believe that I would be ever in a position where I would have to raise children, because I just don't believe that this is something that God has for me. And that is my story. That's my life. I have perfect peace about it. I never have any desire to have children of my own. Again, I love children. I have no problem with it. I grew up in a big family. We always have children around us. Even today, we have children around us. And I love being with them. They love being with me. But that doesn't mean that I would be a perfect mother to anyone. So, and I think that's the biggest responsibility. And I say it without any exaggeration. This is really, really what I think. So I also believe that if you have children and you have a career and you are zealing in your career, you're doing very well in that area, but you're failing as a mother, as a parent, you have failed in the most important venture of your life, in the most important task, if you will, in your life. So just because you're doing well in your whatever area, but you are failing as a parent, that should be your number one. And if you're not ready for it, in my opinion, you should not take on children. If you're not ready to devote yourself to that child, to that children. And also, if you don't have capacity to take care of too many children, then don't have too many children, because it is not fair to them. That's just common sense. Don't have 10 children if you can take care of even one. You know, obviously you want to trust the Lord. We all trust the Lord, but there are some common sense you might want to use. But this is my opinion. I think it is common sense. Doesn't really need any explanation. But yeah, some cultures just like to produce a lot of offsprings without any consideration how that child will be or how those children will be raised, or if they will survive, at all, because maybe you don't have food in the house all the time. So it's like you want to kind of think ahead before you going into, bringing those children down from heaven, because that's where they come from. That's where we all come from. So I collected some of my thoughts, and then I would be very interested to hear from you, also from the audience, but also from my dear panel members, that what each of you think of this children, yes or no subject. So, and I want to preface it by saying many assume that a time will come for every one of us where we will just feel that we are ready to be mothers or ready to be parents. I think there's got to be a little bit more than feeling, because you are basically raising people. They are not little adults, but on the other hand, they are not like, they're just children. It's like cats, dogs, children. No, those are here forever to stay. You brought somebody into this world, you take care of them. That should be your primary responsibility. I don't even think I need to explain that, but I will, because it seems like there are a lot of people out there who just like to follow the Bible without giving any particular thought of that. Well, I don't know if, let me back up a little bit. I, of course, fully believe the Bible. We all do. But I also believe in using the common sense that God gave each and every one of us. So just because God said these words to humankind, to mankind, multiply and produce and fill the earth with offsprings, it doesn't mean that you just have to go around and spread your seeds. And I'm being so nice here, not explaining what I mean by this. But what I'm saying is that you have to do it in a certain biblical frame of a family. That's number one. So don't go ahead and produce just because the Bible said so. You're not a wild dog, okay? You're not gonna spread your seeds all over the place because the Bible said so, and now you have a license to live immorally. And that's all I have to say about that. So feeling that you're ready to be mother or ready to be a father is a nice thing, but it's just feeling. I want you to use common sense, and I want you to think ahead a little, not just, okay, today I have a beautiful baby, I'm so happy, I'm super happy. And then when I kind of get bored with it, or bored with them, rather, when you have more than one, then you just kind of, stop paying attention to the children, and then they feel neglected, and then they're going to have resentment, and then they're going to grow up bitter adults. And that's what they're going to pass on. A lot of parents, in my opinion, should have never become parents, because they don't take it responsibly, they don't take it seriously, and because everybody else and everything else seems to be more important to them than the children. How many times we see nowadays mothers having the children playing around or trying to interact with them, and they are in their telephone all the time. This is so, I don't even know the words to use. It's like your child needs your attention. Yes, your full attention. If you have a babysitter, that babysitter is not a replacement of you. That's your help, not a replacement. So from the child's perspective, they still need you. They need your attention. They need your affection. They need your thoughts. They need your education in their life. They need your input in their lives. Babysitter is wonderful, but at the same time, they are not replacing you. And don't try to hire people or ask friends to watch over the children that you're supposed to be mothering when you're supposed to be fathering. That's not okay. So again, children, yes or no, this is our subject today. Okay, so some of the thoughts that people might have before they embark on this venture, they can voice some of their thoughts like, I'm afraid of losing my partner because he wants kids and I don't want to have kids, or I'm not even sure if I want to. So I guess I don't want to have kids, but I'm going to just give in to my boyfriend or my partner or even my husband, and I'm going to have kids because I'm so afraid that he's going to leave me. Now, it's almost like you are, how to put this very nicely? It's almost like you are using the child to hold on to your husband.
Marriage, yeah.
So how do you think it's going to go? How do you think it's going to go between you two, your partner and you, and between your children and you? So I feel that my husband wants to, leave me. His attention wanders. So I'm going to just have another child, just to hold on to my husband. My goodness, I have heard these stories so many times. So you might think this is extreme. Well, not that extreme to be unusual, to be not normal, definitely, but it's very average. I have heard so many stories that, women produce children, even many times against the direct wish of the husband, just to hold on to the husband, just to have that almost, holding over his head. Now we have children, you have to stay with me. Do you really think blackmailing someone to stay with you using a child on top of it, we're going to go down. Well, it's not going to go down well, obviously. And that man is probably going to leave you anyway. But then the child will suffer as well. And in a way, it is you who is to be blamed for it, because you have used or wanted to use that child as a leverage. So all kinds of reasons, all kinds of things to think about. So don't use your children as leverage. Okay, I've always wanted to have, here's another one. I have always wanted to have a baby, but is it even ethical, knowing the environmental and political climate, blah, blah, blah. Well, we're not going to go back there, you know, which one is real, which one is not real in terms of this environmental and political climate. But you do want to be responsible for your children. So I like the very fact that someone actually thought about the future. Mm-hmm. But it could be one of the reasons that people kind of hesitant having children. Then people feel like, you know what, I am under so much pressure from my partner to have children. I don't want to have children, but he does. So am I going to give in? Am I not going to give in? Or I have my parents. They so much want to have grandchildren. I don't personally want to have grandchildren. My husband doesn't. I mean, children. My husband doesn't want to have children, but because of the grandparents to be, we're going to produce some offspring so that they have someone to play with. I don't think that's a very good reason either. So all I'm saying is, you want to be planning to be a parent. You want to be planning the future of that child, not just that very moment. Oh, he's so small, she's so small, she's so cute, so I'm going to play. And the moment that child will have his own or her own thoughts that might contradict mine, that I'm just not going to communicate with him or her, because now all of a sudden I feel like, you know what, that child is not someone that makes me happy. So if I feel unhappy, maybe I shouldn't be spending too much time with my child. So there's all kinds of ways to do it wrong. Let's listen to how to do these things right from people who have already been there, done that, and have some experience. So I wanted to open the forum, the panel, to my dear friends here, and take it away. What are your thoughts? Children, yes or no?
Well, for us, it's yes, of course, because we have 5 children. But you mentioned it to replenish the earth. We don't need children to replenish the earth. We can replenish the earth with our wisdom, with our love, with our beauty, to lift up people. So that's and we can display the wisdom of God, of Christ in our lives around us. And I know many persons who are alone, ladies, and they are without children. They are mothers. For also for our children, there were old ladies in our church. They were as a mother for our children. Sometimes, but they don't.
More or less.
Less, yes.
More or less.
More
or less.
More or less. But we are responsible always for our children. So sometimes, you know, it's beauty to have children and to raise them up. And what my experience is that when we raise up children, we see also our own juice passing, you know. Yeah, how to say that. So it's very good to know that you are a new creature. So when you raise up children, you are a new creature. It's not. It doesn't always go that way. I'm still learning too as a father, because I didn't. It's perfect, but I was always there for my children, because I know I receive these children as a gift from the Heavenly Father. You know, that's my first thing. And I know my first prayer for my eldest son was that I be a very good father for my son. That was my first prayer,
Yeah.
because I know that's very important for him. That he has a very good father. So yeah, and he has also a very good mother here next to me. So and we always say before we come together, Frida and we say children are a hope for the future,
For the world, yeah.
for the world. We always have that saying to each other, huh?
Well, we can say a lot about that because there was, I think there was a teaching of Apostle Faith in one of the, wasn't that a power school?
Yeah,
Or,
in power school, yeah.
I don't remember when it was, but
It was Judy.
she gave a whole list of arguments why Christians should have children. So that is another thing to discuss, I think, tonight. What I want to start with is that children is a lifetime thing.
Yes.
Some people say, oh, when your children are gone out of the house and you are free to do what you want. It's not my experience, actually.
No.
And you have how many children? Tell the audience, please. How many children do you guys have?
Yeah, 5 children and 12 grandchildren.
5 children, 12 grandchildren. So you would know.
Yes.
We know.
Although I know it's not my calling. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not my calling to take care of my children and grandchildren. It is a big responsibility to raise them up, to be there for them, to be an example, and also in the spirit, especially in the spirit, and to pray for them every day, and to see to it that also our grandchildren are going to walk in the ways of the Lord. That's for me very important.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I heard a very famous preacher lady say, "My grandchildren, I don't bake cookies for them. They know that because I'm going around the world. I don't bake cookies a lot, I must say, but I'm there for them because I think they need me."
Mm-hmm.
So this is it for now, and I really want to discuss this topic about that's important to have children in this continent in Europe.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Okay, what I wanted to I made a list. Let's see. Let me pull this up. I made a list of how I would raise my children, or how children should be raised, because children should be raised. Okay, let's agree on that. Not just, they are born and then they just going to raise themselves because that's just how nature works. Nope. Your job is to raise them. That means you want to educate them.
Yes.
You want to train them. The Bible talks about train your children in the way they should go. So it seems like there is a way they should go. There's a set way before each one of them, which they should embark on. It is your job to find out what that way is, because they wouldn't know on their own. You have to have the wisdom and the spiritual insight what their giftings are, and set them up that way. Just because you want to have a doctor, God sent you a dancer, don't force that child into the doctorate,
No. Yes.
Thing, because the child will never be happy. She will never be fulfilled, because she will always feel that she wants to be an artist, because she's an artist. So if you wonder what is your calling in life, or what is your giftings in life, think about what you would do other than your job, even if they wouldn't pay you for it. you will be surprised to find out that maybe you are not exactly where you're supposed to be, but there's never too late to make a change in your life, in your career even. And you can have several careers. It doesn't have to be the career that you started with. It could be something completely different. I have an uncle, actually, and he is an opera aria singer. But this is not what he studied immediately. He went into, I don't even know how to explain it. He went into some kind of a technical school where they learn about, I don't even know what they learn about, something electrician, not the one that you would call if something goes wrong in your house. It's more complicated than that. But anyway, this completely different. But he was an artist, and my family is very artistic, and also my grandparents back to I don't know how many generations. So everybody sang or sings actually, or does some music on the side. But to him, his main calling was singing. And then he became very famous, very successful. And this is what he's been doing the last maybe 40 years that I can remember. But I know this is not how he started. I don't know how he did not even think about, I am assuming his parents were, of course, it was a different era. His parents were more comfortable knowing that he has like a solid, quote unquote, solid job, as opposed to something that, well, you know, maybe you will be called to sing, maybe you will not be called to sing. So it's kind of a, you know, artist life is not easy. So
right.
you understand. So I understand that aspect as well. But I'm so happy that he found his calling, because it's a very different world. And I used to be in the musical world as well. And it's a very different world from everything else. It has a lot of, you bond with people there very much, because music bonds. You the people that you work with, meaning produce music with, they are really your family for a lifetime. So you really have a lifetime of a group around you, like almost like a second family, really, because you spend a lot of time with them, you're touring with them, you are doing some kind of shows with them, and it all bonds. And I understand, because I grew up in that. Until the age of 15, I used to sing professionally. And really, it is like people coming from all kinds of background, but they are your family. So he would have missed that had he held on to his first job, because you know colleagues are also can be friendly, but then you don't have this music that bonds you. So artistic world is very different. And so I'm glad he has that. So it's not just the calling that he would have missed, but also everything that goes with it. And of course, those people would have missed out on him as well had he chosen this different path. So find out what your child or your children is gifted for or are gifted for, and then you push them in that area. Advise them, of course, not push like forcibly, but advise them in that area, because they need a lot of advice, especially in their career choices. And sometimes the obvious choice may not be the right one. Just because everybody is a lawyer in your family, it doesn't mean that also your children has to be lawyers, or everybody's a doctor. Doesn't mean that all your offsprings now is going to be lawyers and doctors, because that's what you need within the family mafia, you understand? So find out what that child is called, because that's your responsibility. And encourage your children to go in that direction. It is also your job to find the right school for your children, to make sure that you make it possible for them financially to attend. And sometimes it doesn't have to be the famous Juilliard school, for instance, for the art. It can be something maybe different if you don't even live in the area. But anyway, and of course, now in the age of internet, you can also find online courses. So really, there's no excuse, you know? So education. Of course, the proverb says that raise up the child in the gifts, in the ways, in the bands he should go. And notice how it says how he in the ways he should go. He will not depart from it. He should go. So not the way he wants to go, because where he wants to go may not be what he should do. So there's another thing. You might find that your child doesn't agree with the calling on his life, maybe. But then it is your job to convince him or her that it's best for him to stay in the calling, in the giftings, because then he will be successful and the Lord will make sure that he will have the open doors he needs to go through. So there's one. So what would I teach to my children or any children really at all? Because again, you don't have to be a biological mother to raise children, as you guys said. Self-respect above all. I would say this list is long but not complete by any means, but these were just some of my thoughts. Self-respect, respect of others, which of course is tied to each other, proper value system, biblical values, that would be the proper value system. They need to understand what's important and what is not. And when you find that, when you realize what is important in life, what is really important, then you also know what is not important or not that important. And your priority list is very important. And if you raise your children within the proper value system, proper biblical foundation, they will understand what is important and what is not. Having the most fashionable and trendy clothes, for instance, is not important or not that important. But it might be important for him or her because of peer pressure in the school. So then you need to sit the child down and explain to them that, you know what, these are all fleeting things. Even in the natural, today, hot pink, for instance, would be the rage, you know, but tomorrow is something completely different. So why would you base your value system on that particular item that will go out of fashion in no time anyway?
Yeah.
So you need to explain the basics to your children, and that's your job. Don't wait until someone else explains their value system. You understand? And of course, no need to say that what the children today, these days in some countries learn from the governmental schools, because that's not based on the Bible at all. And I want to bring an example just to say that the government is not always right. I am Hungarian. I grew up in Hungary. And so I grew up under communism, under socialism. And I heard one message in the school very aggressively being pushed, of course, because that's what they do there. And you had no choice. There was no Christian school. You had one kind of school that was the government school, and nothing else was allowed to be taught there. And moreover, the school that I went to was very strict, and they actually believed in what they preached, quote unquote. So we heard about Lenin being so great. We heard about Marx being so wonderful. I mean, today, yeah, you laugh about it, but that's how I grew up. But, you know, I never believed it. Never believed it, because I had a wonderful parents who gave us the truth at home. So we knew that we don't have to participate in this nonsense. And we knew the whole background, even politically and also historically. So we were always presented with the truth, and we knew that the truth is the Bible. Didn't matter what we were hearing every day, all day in the school. Our value system, we are 6 in my family, so I'm talking about the children, all 6 of us. So our value system was based on what we learned at home. And that's what I want to tell you. That doesn't matter how many time your child spends in school, the value system is coming from the parents, from home. So it's even if you just a few sentences, they will pick it up immediately what you really believe in. So explain it to your children in the level and in the language they can understand it. What goes on out there is not the real thing. What is real here is what we believe in. Our family, this is what we believe in. This is our value system. This is where we base our life on. And yes, there is God, even if in the school they keep telling there is no God. Don't believe it. They are, you know, very misled. So value system is so important, because that is going to be the foundation of your children's life.
Yes.
And I can talk from experience. Okay, biblical education. Education is important. Again, you don't have to go to schools these days if you don't have the finances for that, or for, you live in a rural area far away in the country and you don't have the transportation means or whatever, or even the finances, you don't have the finances for it. Don't worry, don't get discouraged. All of this information, the right information as well as the wrong ones, you can find on the internet. So just make sure that you set your child in that proper direction and make sure you give them the books to read, or give them the links. Nowadays, of course, give them the links. They should go and educate themselves. Make sure they are watching the proper channels. I would say don't watch television at all, but on the internet, YouTube and all these places, of course, you will find most of these educational videos available as well. So don't underestimate that. Education is important. Curiosity for things. Let your children be open-minded.
Yeah.
Curiosity, like for instance, science is what I meant. Nature is what I meant. Let's make sure that they are also hands-on people. Like they know how to iron, they know how to cook, they know how to raise vegetables, they know how to take care of themselves, they know how to sew. I want everyone to learn how to sew. It's a joy. And also, you shouldn't be stuck. Even if you're a man, if something is, ripped or something, you don't have to throw the thing away. It might be actually something expensive. Learn some basic proper things how to do. I know these things are not fashionable, but this is exactly why we need to teach them, because they are no longer fashionable. Let's not even go there, what's fashionable these days. Okay, so open-mindedness. Kindness would be a nice thing to teach them. Braveness would be also something, standing up for their own beliefs and on their values, and standing up for others as well, Purpose. Give them a purpose, life purpose, which of course ties to their what we talked about earlier, their course to follow, their giftings in the way they should go. Make sure they are readers. Make sure they are readers. You guys are leaders out there, I know, because only leaders are listening to us. So leaders are readers. Make sure your child reads proper things. Make sure the children are involved in sports.
Yes.
Lots of benefits of it. We're not gonna go into that. Music. Make sure they are involved in music to some approximity. They may not have the best voice, but make sure they know how to carry a tune, okay? Or even musical instrument that really helps the development of their brain.
Yes.
Very, very important. Music is powerful. Now, when I say music, I mean classical music, not Rihanna, not Britney Spears, not the rap music. No, we don't want that. Those are doing something else to your brain. And I want to underline that. I can't even stress that enough. Classical music, what it does to your brain, look into that. Maybe we'll devote some of our time to that, explaining what the neuron pathways, how it's formatted. When you listen to classical music, your critical thinking is absolutely dramatically being developed if you listen to classical music, especially stringed instruments. I don't know how that connects. I have a theory, but I can't do it.
Yeah,
Stringed instruments, violin, cello, wonderful for these for how the neural pathways in your brain develop. Very important. Music and sports also teaches discipline. Discipline, much needed. I can't even stress it enough. In their self-development, that's key. They can be the most talented in the world, but if they are not disciplined enough to work on their talent and develop that talent and grow that talent, they're never gonna go anywhere. That's just how it is. I can talk a lot about that, pro and con, but so self-discipline. Sport is a wonderful way to teach someone to get up early in the morning, do the training, then go to school. And one of the things that I have noticed, I have been in sports all my life and music. I'm extremely disciplined. And it's not hard for me. That's the thing, because this is how I grew up. Now, if this is not how you grew up, then it will take some work, but it's doable. So teach them self-development as well. Self-development should be a lifelong pursuit. And they learn it at early age. Teach them and raise them up in the spirit of excellence. We talked about that extensively. Of course, everybody has their own experience in that, but spirit of excellence, it means that everything they do it to the best of their knowledge, to the best of their ability. Someone who is not walking in excellence, basically how they think is like this: you know what, this is good enough. You would never hear this sentence uttered from someone who walks in excellence, ever. Because for someone who walks in excellence, good enough is never good enough. Because the bar is raised higher. And may I suggest, when you raise your children like this, it doesn't matter what future holds in terms of, how the world is going to change. They will always be sought after. They will be experts in their fields. They will be successful in their private lives because they have the proper value. What's proper value? Family, God, country, identity, national identity. Be proud of who you are. Be proud of where you come from. Don't deny it. Don't underestimate it. These things are very important. And when you have this as foundation, you will be, I'm talking as a child, when this foundation, was laid in your heart, in your soul, in your spirit, from an early childhood, you will be a very great asset to the person you're going to marry to, the person who hires you, or all the people who are around you. You are going to most likely be an entrepreneur. You're not going to be waiting for people to hire you. You will venture out and do your own business, because again, your mindset is already different. You're not going to seek what to get. You're going to look at what to give on your personal life as well as in your business life, in your career. So these are some of the things I collected, and I would like to hear your thoughts. What values you would like to install into children?
Well, I think if children are not giving and don't learn how to give, they definitely will struggle, and they won't even recognize the importance of how to act. And when I say act, I don't mean pretend, but how to actually act out kindness to those around them. We all see people who are very selfish. It seems to be very rampant right now. They have their faces in their phones. All they can think about is themselves. It's like there's no one taught them, or if they did, they chose not to listen, and so on. And so it's very important, because you may not even notice it so much in the home, but the moment you go out into public is when, the people's reaction around you will definitely point towards whether your children are an asset to society or not, whether they are giving to society, they're taking from society, or they're just completely neutral and self-absorbed.
Yeah.
And so we here in our home, definitely, that's one of the things that we do, is we teach how to give a lot. And children don't need to be taught how to be selfish. They need to be taught how to give. It just seems like selfishness just seems to come natural. My youngest one,
It is.
my youngest grandchild, her favorite word right now is mine. And
Ah,
and so so really a lot of other people around in the home are teaching her very well, but they're a lot more gentle than I am. And I'm very stern with her. And so she understands. And yesterday she and I had it out a little bit where, and she's 2, okay? She's 2,
oh,
but she's still teachable. And so every time her mom takes a step outside to get a breath of fresh air and to get away from the children just for a moment,
of
well,
course.
she'll be on the floor, she'll be having a meltdown and so on. And and that happened for a while. And then this week I decided to take it upon myself that she's of age, that she at least can understand that mommy will be back. So I was very, very stern. The word no came up quite a few times, but it was very stern but loving. And she was very resistant and very angry for a time. But yesterday we had a breakthrough where I told her, no, that is not acceptable. And then I went about my business in the same area where she was, just to kind of so I could continue to oversee. And she came to me even though she had tears running down her face and she was still mad, she came to me and very gently said, Papa. And then we had a short discussion and we went into the other room and sat down and she realized she was safe. So what did I do there? I taught her self-control. I taught her that it's not always about her and so on.
Mhm.
And you would think if somebody would have been there to watch, with the meltdown she was having and the tears she was having, not by any means did I do anything harmful to her, but it sure seemed like I did by all the tears and the reaction. But in the end, what it resulted in was she felt safe. She
Yeah.
felt like that that neediness that had to be met didn't have to be met, and she was still safe apart from it. So I just say all that to say it is a responsibility, and it's not always easy to teach a child, but it is very important to teach a child. And parents with sometimes they get tired and then they let the kids get away with things, and then it's okay today, but it's not okay tomorrow, kind of thing. And then they start to get confused. So I would say in all that, one thing that I have taught the children is consistency.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
say something is acceptable, it's acceptable. If I say something is not acceptable, it's not acceptable.
Mhm.
And then of course there's a huge middle ground of it doesn't matter. But they understand that when I say something is unacceptable, there's a reason for it. You know, the child needs to be able to listen. There is a lady that I know who said she actually saved her child's life. So this child was somewhat rebellious and didn't want to listen, but she instilled that that is not acceptable. You must listen. You must. Because mommy knows best. And if I say no, it's no. And if you're going to get into trouble, maybe it'll save your life. Well, she was on her bike one day. She was just very small. And she was riding down the sidewalk and she was about to ride her bike across the road, and there was a vehicle coming, and the vehicle did not see her because of all the other vehicles on that same street. She was behind them, and the mom just knew in her spirit something was terribly, terribly wrong, and she just ran out the door and yelled, "Stop!" And that child stopped immediately, just
Wow.
before crossing the road. She no sooner stopped and that car zipped by. So
Wow.
what did she do? She trained that child to listen so that when it came time, if there was anything dangerous or whatever, that child would listen and not rebel. Where would that child have been had they not listened?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
So that's just another example of, I would say, kind of name some things that I would do, but in general, you know, it is our responsibility to teach children these things, and it's just very, very
Yeah.
important um, to not uh, uh, to not take the easy way out because it'll cost you in the long run, and
No.
perhaps
Yeah.
cost the life of a child in the long run.
Very good point. So training the child is
Training the
wonderful.
child
Listen.
and be consistent.
Yeah.
Be consistent and don't ever threaten them or tell them things that you're not going to follow through with.
Yeah.
If you do that, you'll never have ice cream ever again. Yeah, okay. All right. Like,
Never again.
but you're not having ice cream today.
Yeah,
That you can follow through
that
with.
will do. That
That
will
will
do.
Mhm. Yeah,
So that's some points that I
very
had.
good.
There's lots more, but I don't
Yeah,
want.
lots more.
Don't wanna-
Consistency is definitely a key.
Yeah.
If you ever want to be taken seriously in everything, but especially with children, because and also with animals, when you train your pets the same way,
That's
because
right.
they may not understand the words, but they
Mhm.
understand what you do, and if they can pick up on whether you are serious or not.
Yeah.
And you see it very well. But also, of course, children, you see it very well with them because they are very smart. They may not even understand the word what you're using because they are not old enough to understand words.
Yeah.
But they understand because they're watching you. They
Yeah.
see what you're doing. If you
Yeah.
don't follow through, you just lost your face.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and know that children are gold
Mhm.
and handle them as gold.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's even as grandfather and grandmother, we handle them as gold, but we um, will educate them, learn them, teach them, and they've learned a lot the last 12 years. We learned before, therefore, also a lot, but especially the last 12 years, we learned so much things about spiritual insights. So we can use that for our grandchildren too, And
Yeah.
yeah, this is a time that they have to know where they stand. They have a lot of information from school.
Yes.
You say that
Yes.
in your past time, in the time before, but also in this time, the school gives so much overflow of information, and you have to. Um, I know from a teacher, she told us every evening when your children go to bed, pray for them, you sing with them, but uh, ask them questions.
You
How
debrief them
de-
every evening.
debrief your children
Hmm.
every evening so you can discover what's happened during the day, And
Yeah.
we did this a lot. Did a lot. The,
I think the key about asking them is the key to be interested
Yes.
in
right.
how they went, because they can tell the difference when you're just asking questions routinely. So how was school? Oh, nothing. What happened to school? In school? Nothing. Then
Mhm.
really they know you are not interested because you're not really dragging it out of them. I'm
Yeah.
not saying you should drag it, but you should find a way how to talk to your children, because
Yes.
each of them are unique. And maybe one method doesn't work with every one of them. So each of them has to be, you have to find the key to, but if God gave you those children, then God definitely gave you also the keys to all those children.
Right.
So just
That's so
make
right.
sure you spend enough time with the child, with each one of them separately. They will understand that you're interested.
Yes.
You pay attention to their little soul and their little things. Those things may not be much to you, the things that they're facing every day, because you are in a different time of your life. And so you can just give them advice. Don't dismiss whatever little problems they have, seemingly little, but it's a big for them.
Yeah.
So just spend time with them, ask them, and then give advice if needed. But just the fact that you listened, I know it means a lot to them, because they feel seen, they feel heard. They will never feel like, what, you're not even interested. So why would I tell you how my day went? Because you don't even seem interested. You are in your telephone all the time, or you're watching the television, or I just feel like I'm a background noise to your whole, world. I'm just talking, but you're not even paying attention. I hear some of these comments from people who go through, and this is what I would be advising to people who feel like they don't have this connection with their children. But I think the connection starts from you, because you're the adult in this whole picture, and you're you're the source of their everything, basically. So from their viewpoint, from their vantage point, this initiative should come from you, and it should come from you in a way that they would like to spend time with you. They would want to share things, with you. They would not be sharing it with their friends. You would be their first choice to go to. So I'm glad you mentioned it. Just be interested and consistently be interested how that day went. Because, weeks can go by and you have no idea what they learned, how their little life went in school, because you're so busy with your own life and with your own set of problems. But just consistently pay attention to your children.
Well, I was very privileged to be a mom that was not working.
Okay.
Yes, because that was our choice. That even though we definitely needed the money for 5 children, it was our choice that I stayed at home.
Yeah, but I mean, with 5 children, you couldn't have done otherwise. I mean, really, honestly, I can't even imagine.
No, but
mom was also a stay-at-home mom for the same reason with the 6 kids. So I understand.
So I look at that now, and I think women are very stressed because they have to have all those responsibilities together, even when they are an unmarried mom. How do you say it?
Unwed mother.
Yeah. It's even more, So it is very vital to spend time with your children. I read them stories every Friday evening.
Yes,
I read books.
Yes,
I like that.
Yes,
every Friday we had stroopwafels. That was a very Dutch thing. Yeah. And we had Coca-Cola, and we had Little House on the Prairie or whatever book.
The Secret Garden, the Secret Garden.
The Secret Garden.
Yeah.
A Spoor in the Snow.
Yeah.
How to say it in English?
Trails in the Snow.
Trails in the Snow.
Yes, I know the Trails in the Snow. That's one of my favorites. I loved it. Yeah. My dad used to read to us every night, even though he was very busy. But he made it a point to read to us every night Narnia. And at that time we didn't speak.
Yes, also I read the first book.
We didn't speak English, so we couldn't have read it for ourselves. And at the time they were not translated into Hungarian. So that was in the 70s. I mean, really.
Yes.
And the early 80s. So it was very brand new here. Right. He was studying in the States, so he brought back a lot of things from the United States.
Yeah.
It's as it existed there, but not in Hungary at the time, especially during the communism. So anyway, he would make it a point to read to us every single day if we behaved. If we didn't behave, then there was no reading. You see, that was the incentive. And of course, you want to behave because you want to hear the next chapter of the story. And so that's one of the bonding I think you can do with your children today. Don't leave it to the television to take care of your children. Read to them if they cannot read yet.
Yes, but even if they can read, it's very good to be together, to go through a book and to talk about it later. And and that is why my children developed a lot of sense of languages, because we always talk. Even the grandchildren, they talk and talk and talk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the other thing I love how you mentioned talking, because the other thing I remember, and it's still today when we gather, I think one of the most precious times, apart from the night reading, before we go into bedtime stories, is how you want to call it, that we would always gather around the table and we would talk for hours while we have lunch, or rather dinner,
Yes.
because that's when the whole family was here. And we have learned so much
Yes.
about life, about Bible. We would talk for hours and hours and hours. So that definitely builds bond. And of course, you get to ask questions. And of course, children should have many questions, and you should have all the answers, I would think. Or at least, okay, I will look into that, and then you get back to the children, because you don't know what other answers somebody else might give them that is inaccurate.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
So, but talking around the table, that is really fellowshipping around the table.
Yes,
That's
that's
a
so
wonderful thing to do. That's how you build a family.
Yes.
So even today, at the age of 53, I still remember those times, which we still practice, but of course not every night, because we don't live together anymore. None of us do. But whenever we gather, our best, we always gather around the table, even though we have, it's a huge house, my several stories high, my parents' place, but we gather in the kitchen, dining room rather. We gather in the dining room around the table, and we would just eat and fellowship, and just like how we used to, because that's what we used to.
Yes.
So no telephones there. No telephones, and no watching, I don't know, TikTok videos, because that's just not what we do.
No.
We did not have that, which is at that time.
Well, yes, that's the other thing, that nowadays you have more options, more temptations, so to speak, and it's obviously easier to, less effort, I should say, to do the to watch TV, or to look at your telephone, and everybody's in their own little world and not together. Even though you are together physically, you are really not there.
Yeah.
And that does not build community.
No.
That is the danger of our times.
Yeah, but I mean, if you were raising your children well, they know that you will put aside the telephone before you hit the table.
Yes.
It's just a common courtesy.
Yeah.
Common courtesy, but also you don't even feel the need to, because now this is your time with the fellowshipping with your family. The family that you don't see every day, maybe. And therefore every moment is precious.
Yeah.
But if you raise your children to do the telephone thing, even around the table, this is the first thing they're going to reach for. So whose fault is that, really? That's what I'm saying. You should raise your children the way it should go. The way it should go is not to be on the stupid telephone.
Yeah.
Right.
And when we're talking about all this, the question today is children, yes or no? And what we're talking about is all the responsibilities of raising a child. So the question is, are you willing to put in the time and effort to
That's the question.
take on that responsibility? Because if the answer is no, and just a person needs to be honest about it. Maybe your vision for your life for the next 20 years is going to be so dependent on school and travel and all this kind of stuff. Who would actually watch the children? Then, you need to actually ask the question. Unless you can take the children with you. I've heard of people doing that. But it takes a real special occupation or a ministry or whatever it is.
They have to be schooled even on the road. So that's the other aspect you have to really think about.
Yeah. So can you actually raise your children? And so that's a big thing, Yeah. Speaking of responsibility, I remember I mentioned this once before, Focus on the Family, which is a ministry here in North America. And they really helped me raising the children. There was a lot of topics and things that we had, that they had that really helped me. And one of the gentlemen said his daughter was quite small. I'm not sure what age, but I would say maybe 6 or something. And their grandmother, the girl's grandmother or grandparents, were in a different state in the United States. So they were going to fly. He was going to fly with this girl to the airport and then meet the grandparents and give the child to the grandparents and then come and pick this child up the same and bring the child back. And the airline stewardess said, "We have a program that we will watch your child and make sure that your child safely gets to the destination, gets to the grandparents, and then back again." And the stewardess began to laugh and say, like, this is something you didn't need to buy that other ticket. And he looked at her and said, "I understand you have that program, but it's not your responsibility, it's mine."
Yeah.
And it is the parents' responsibility to do those kinds of things. I think it's very important. And I think the question is, when you were raising your children, would you have had someone just come and get your child and bring them somewhere who you didn't know and just bring them to a 12-hour destination, a 12-hour travel?
No.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And I think it would be quite irresponsible to do something like that. But it's easier. On one hand, it's easier. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really good and very important to be there, physically be there whenever possible as a parent.
Yes.
Yes,
As a grandparent, it's a little bit different, and yet it's still very important, I would say.
very. I
Yeah.
think grandparents have a special place
Mhm.
in their education, and it's not to be underestimated. It's a
Yeah.
different aspect of their lives
Mhm.
that grandparents can bring and should bring. So
Yeah.
if they miss that aspect, that input, they are missing a lot.
Mhm.
So it's obviously the parents has the place, and also the grandparents have their place in their lives. So,
Mhm.
and nobody can take each other's place. They are all needed.
No, no.
Yeah.
Really.
Celia, you are a grandmother as well, are you?
Yes, I am. Yes, I find it a big responsibility. I think because it's like what you didn't, what you didn't take. I think as a mother, you're, and you've got. I only wanted one. That's all I wanted.
Mhm.
I didn't because I knew the more I had, the more. If I had two, I had just. I felt, you taught your mother instinct.
Yeah.
At first, I thought, no, I haven't got that motherly instinct. And then it slowly came. I was only about 28, but then but I just knew that I only wanted one and I didn't want no more.
Mhm.
And like you said, it's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
And you're married, and then we know when it all, it fell apart. So then when you've got to raise one by yourself, and then there's no father, that makes it a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of discipline, and that's a good thing. But then, he's as he grew up, they resent it. But um, as a grandparent, yeah, it's really important because I think all the things that you didn't teach your child or you didn't give your child, you can now pass it on to your grandchildren.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I feel in a better position and got more time for my grandchildren and teach them stuff, and then I had for my child because you're at that age where you're working,
Yes,
you're going
that
out
is
to
true.
work, you're making a living, you come home, that you're picking them up from school, you're doing this, you're doing that. But then when you're a grandparent, they're grown, and then you have time. And then also I don't know. It's different as well. I don't know. Everybody says that, but I didn't realize even as much as, yes, of course I love my child, but I don't know. The love feels different as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
the love feels so different. It's like I remember when Harper was born and my first one. It was like I fell in love with her, and I thought, wow, this is
Yeah.
weird. I'm in love with my grandchild, you know. It's just a completely different feeling. Um, but yeah, you can only do like, you know, they have an opportunity. My grandchildren have an opportunity. I can take them to church. Like, my son doesn't go, so you know, I believe that, you know, they're very clever, and I think they'll be going, you know, telling their parents, my grandmother taught me this, and seeing things that they're not doing as parents, but you are doing as a grandparent, you know. So that's a way, because if, like I say, we always at that time when, you know, we're working, so they can tell their parents, my grandma and my granddad taught me this. And if you noticed in as being a grandparent or grandchildren, you'll always see. I observed that grandchildren also, even though they grow up, maybe yours you can find it, can't wait to see you. You know, it's like they're
Yeah.
so excited and they stick close to you. You know, it's like, oh wow. You know, they could even come to one point where I say, you know, I want to live with my grandparents. You know, and that the love for the grandparents from the grandchildren different, how they love their
Different,
parents.
yeah.
So yeah, it is completely different. And yeah, I'm learning. I mean, I'm learning whether I'm doing it right. I want to do more and more and more, but there's only so much you can do, because you know, they are your responsibility, but you know, you give them back, don't you, at the end of the day? So you can't keep them. So it's like you've always got to ask permission. Can I, you know, I don't go and just go. I always ask permission if I can do this with the grandchild. Can I pick them up? Can I do this? I don't never, you know, I find don't never go in and try to take over neither, you know. It's you know, you're there to help, really. You're there. I think we're there to give that extra help and that extra guidance on both sides for the grandchildren and your child, aren't you? Really. So you're doing double, really. So and yeah, and especially you, Alexandra, and and Frida, you've got 12. I've got 2, and I'm like,
It's a bit much, I must admit.
oh, I know. I can imagine when they all come together, you're like,
Oh,
oh my God, you know what I mean? And they all have their own personalities.
that's only at
So
Christmas.
Yeah.
so I can imagine. I was thinking, oh wow, but I
The
know it's
three.
nice.
Is there
So
anything that you and Frida would do, or I mean Alexandra and Frida would do differently? How you raise your children, I wonder.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Yeah, actually, um,
Yes.
um, it is a different relationship.
yeah, it is.
It is, you know, you have more time for them, just spend to have fun. You don't
Right.
have all the hassle
Yeah,
of the household and the
yeah,
clothing
no,
and the
different. Yeah.
laundry and all that.
No, I was just wondering if you could go back in time with all the knowledge you have now and experience, would you, what are the things that you may have
Oh,
changed
yes. Ja.
with your own children,
What I did,
Onze
with your
5
5?
kinderen. Our 5 children. Yes, yes, he comes from two families. We are from 2 families come together. So you have always your things from home, and then you have to mix up together.
so what
And
do you do different with the children,
um,
grandchildren?
No,
this
what
is
I'm saying is that if you
yeah.
could go back in time, if you
Yeah.
could go back, all the knowledge and experience you have now, all the
Yes.
wisdom you have now,
Yeah.
what are the things that you would do differently
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yes.
raising your 5 children?
Yeah.
I think I would give them more discipline. discipline,
Ah,
learn, teach them more discipline, and be more as a mom, especially me, be more consistent in things.
okay.
Yeah, and yes, that's what and the spirit of excellence, because in our society in that time in the Netherlands, it was enough to have just what we have from 10 to 0, so we have no ABCs like in Anglo in the English speaking world, but we have so there was there was a trend to be, if you have a 6 or a 5, that's enough, you know. If you're just I don't know the word in middelmaat not too good, not too bad, it is okay.
Average.
If you really do your
Average.
yes,
Average, that's the word.
and if you put your head above the surface of everyone, you were kind of bullied. So, so that was the trend in the Netherlands that time.
And I was very disciplined, so to say.
Yeah.
So I was on the discipline, get up in time, get up.
Yes, of course.
That was my style. And afterwards, I thought I have give them more room. You would give them more room to express themselves. I want to wake up very, very well. So sometimes I was too short to let them express themselves, you know.
Okay.
That was my
so I was
these are you were more of the you were more of the disciplinary, and you were more of the opposite.
So and then you have to do it together. So when we raise up our children, on a certain time, we decide we have to discuss this with our children. We have to discuss this afterwards, where the children are in bed. So we grow up with our children. So we have to find out how to do that, so that when there's things are going not well, if I thought Frida did it not well, or Frida thought it from me, then afterwards, when the children are sleeping, then we discuss together.
Of course, but that's I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's also very important, that, you know, parents should discuss. Parents should communicate with each other about the children. And they make a decision together, and they would stick to that decision, because then the children would see the unity between them, and it will give them a very good frame of safety, isn't it?
Yes.
As opposed to two parents say two different things, then they are confused. They see there is no unity.
Yes.
There is no safety for them. Everything can fall apart, and they are forced to take sides. So that's not a good thing. And of course, then some parents can actually use the children against the other party.
Oh yes, they
use us.
There's a lot of stress on them. A lot of stress on them. So you want to also show them a unified front as parents.
Yes.
And I'm talking from the perspective of children, how it impacts them.
Yes, and of course we made a lot of mistakes, because I was at that time, I was not well. I had pain in my body, and I could not do much of the household. I did it, but it cost me a lot of energy. So so that I had less energy for the children.
Of course.
Be strict, you know, because our children are really like, they're all leaders. So they
5 leaders.
They were very,
In our
No chiefs and no Indians. Okay.
5 leaders.
they were
You are blessed with leaders in your
were
family.
about their own opinion, and
Of course.
so I did not have the energy to go against it all the time. So that was a bit of a problem in our family. So yeah.
Well, that was a unique situation, but at least you had the mind and the intention to be disciplinary and
Oh
you know,
yes.
Yeah.
consistent. Be
Yes.
consistent.
Yes, and even now, when our children grow up and have their own children, one of my children told me, "Dad, you are always stay behind mom." So, of course, of course. I wonder, is there nothing wrong with that lady, you know? But
That's a good observation, actually. It should be a compliment
yeah,
of
yeah.
you're backing her up all the time because that's your job. And it's also better for them that you do. They may
Yes.
not realize it at the moment, but it is better for them to see their parents in agreement always, because
Yes.
that provides safety for them. It provides continuancy for them. It provides consistency for them. It
Yes.
provides a home. And
Yeah.
where you don't see that, or you see the opposite, or there is no other partner, just the mother or just the father, something is very much missing. Something that unless they get help, like they get help from Jesus, this part will always be missing from their lives.
Yeah.
That's how important parents are in the
Yes.
lives of the children.
Yes, and what we learn our children is also when
Taught
they
our
we taught our children when they did something wrong. I want to make sure that they know they are not wrong as child, but
Yes.
what they did
Yeah.
was not just, you know. So we always explain them that is not how to do it, but I love you.
Yes.
So
right.
I always make that
The
connection.
distinction. Yes.
I like that. It's a very, very good one. I'm glad the audience is listening because that's very important. Just because you made a mistake, you are not a mistake, right?
No.
Right. And we can see our 5 children are very hard workers and in a very excellent way too.
Yes.
Yes, they are working. Our 5 children are very hard
Very.
workers, and they are excellent.
And they're making really different
yeah.
a difference in the world.
They
Yes.
make a difference in the world. Yes.
It's really.
And show grace for your children. I always
Yeah.
show grace for them.
Mhm.
Very important.
One of my children broke a very beautiful glass of me, and I was it was my glass, you know. But I remember that glass is not important; she's important. So
That's
she was, no, you can't help it.
Yeah.
It's done. It's not a problem. Some things happen. You know?
Yeah.
yes. Very
Yeah.
good point. Very good point. That they understand that they are more important than the objects.
Yes,
Very
yes,
important.
because that's very yeah. And what we teach them in the good and the bad is to clean their room. I always say a good spirit and good and healthy
Healthy
spirit
spirit.
lives in a clean room, and they know it for these days too. They
Mhm.
always that's the same
Yes.
in our family. In our family.
These are the building blocks you have and foundations you have built into their lives, and therefore they have a very good start. They had a very good start in life because they came from a home where you had godly value system, right? Godly principles, and they understand that they were loved and disciplined at the same time. So
Yes.
that's basically what's missing today. I believe if you love your children, you discipline them. That's what the Bible says, that God loves us and therefore he disciplines us.
Yes.
In fact, he disciplines those he loves.
Yes.
So that's actually because love is corrective. I love you, but there are consequences to what you did or what you didn't do.
Mhm.
So don't, and also, of course, the Bible says don't take discipline away from your children. Don't hold it back, because then, of course, you are going to pay the price, and they are going to pay the price.
Yes.
And that's what we're seeing today. Of course, there's no discipline in the home. Everything goes, whatever the child goes, that child wants, that's what happens. It's almost like the child is the ruler at home.
The
He's
boss,
the
yes.
king or she is the king. And that shows also when they grow up, they have no idea that this is not how life works.
Yeah.
So they are shocked that they can't always have their ways.
Mhm.
So if you are raising your children without discipline, I have to tell you that you are raising them up for failure.
Yep.
Without a doubt. And one day they will come back to you and I said, why didn't you tell me that this is not how life is? Why didn't you teach me how life is? Why didn't you teach me things that were important? How to take care of myself, how to cook my own dinner. It's not that you necessarily have to, but you should be able to do it for yourself.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you do it for yourself? Even if you have the money to cook for, to hire a cook or a chef, learn how to do things. It's a joy, actually. I mean, cooking is creative, baking is creative. We don't always have time for it, but it's something with all the machines that you have nowadays. You really can make your life much easier.
Yes, one of my sons told one of his girlfriends when he came home here with her, oh, I have to put the dishes on this way on the table, and I have to do that on that way, because I love very good tables with all the things in the right place, you know.
Nice table.
So don't do the dish with the flour upside down. Put it.
Yes.
And you know. There's in detail, but it's important to do it.
Very important, yes.
In a very good way.
It's a little details that make up the big picture.
Yes,
And the
yes,
big
and
picture
then-
makes you feel in a certain way. So yes, very
Yes.
important. That's the atmosphere of the house and of
Yes.
the dinner or whatever that may be.
Yeah, and then I told them with eating, with knife and fork, how to do that. Because I said, I told them, then we have a queen here. I said, if the queen invited you, you know how to handle your food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You raise
It
them very
was
well.
on Saturday morning. We because we stayed overnight, we took care of the 5 children in the afternoon and the evening in Amsterdam, and then we stayed for the night. And in the morning, Priscilla came to me. She said, "Did Dad pack the dishwasher?" I love it. Yes.
Nice and order and cleanliness is very important. And it's important to teach our children that way, isn't it? And if you're an aunt or an uncle or a grandfather or a grandmother, you don't have your own kids, maybe it's fine. Or maybe your spouse has kids, you are still parenting that child or those children. And they are looking up to you for all the things that they should be looking up for a parent to. So don't just because you don't have your children on your own, that's fine. God can place and will place, if you're open to it, children in your life that you can train. And you'll be so happy. It doesn't matter whether you guys are related by blood. That's not important. The important thing is that you regard them as treasures and regard them as some people who to be valued and who to invest into. So investing in your children, whether by blood or not by blood, important thing is that they would feel that they are important to you, and you spend time with them, you listen to their little things, and you give your input, because they are looking for you to give your input, to give your wisdom, because where else would they get it from? They won't get it from the world. They won't get it from television. They don't get it from TikTok. They will get it from you. So you are very much needed, even if you don't have children on your own.
Yes, true.
God can give children to you that you can mentor, and they are very needed. Very needed mentors are these days more than ever.
You are like that also, huh?
Yes, I am. I'm a mother to many.
Yeah.
And I have prophesied this to actually. And I was like, okay, I'm fine. As long as I don't have to give birth to children, I'm good. I can be mother to many. I wouldn't want to be mother. because
Yeah.
I just never felt I just never for a slim second, I never felt a desire to. So I think that should be a sign for, it
That's
should be
true.
to me, it's an indication, because God will not give you something that you don't have a desire for.
Yeah, true.
I really believe that. And whatever he wants to give you, he is preparing you for.
Mhm.
So don't look around like everybody is already married, everybody has children, everybody has grandchildren, so I must have all that. If it's not in your heart's desire, don't strive for it, because you can obviously make these things happen for you just so that you can check that box. But
Yeah.
is that your way? Is that the
Mhm.
life you should be living?
Mhm.
That's what I'm saying, children, yes or no, because it may not be for everyone. I know it's not for me. I had never any problem with that. And God blessed me with so many beautiful children around me that I can be mentoring to. I can be sort of quote unquote mother to, but at the same time, friends too. So again,
Yes.
it's a different relationship. And children need all those inputs. Those are their little building blocks. They know that
Yes.
they can come to me with anything, but they also know that I'm not going to say anything that, for instance, my sister, who is the mother, who is the real mother for them, that my sister would disagree with. They cannot play us against each other, which of course children likes to do.
Yeah.
If mother
Yeah.
said, maybe I will ask Reka, and then she will say yes, so that would give me the permission. No. If mom said no, then it's no.
Yeah. Right.
And you have to be
For
consistent in that, you have to be loving
for
but
us the same.
consistent in that.
For
Yeah,
us the same. Yeah.
of course, of course. So
But
any last words from anybody before we take communion?
I was just
yes.
gonna say, then,
Get my
oops,
communion.
go ahead, Alexander.
Um, make always that they make always a good atmosphere when they came
Good
home from
atmosphere.
school or
Yeah.
sport or so that you have some tea or some else to drink
I like that. Yes,
make home for
I
them.
like that. Yes, this is so important. I'm so glad you mentioned it, because I actually want to dedicate a whole session for that, how to make your house a home. Because most people have a house, they never had a home. And may I suggest, more than suggest, it is the mother's job to make
Yes.
a house a home. Don't
True.
wait for your husband, don't wait for your pets and dogs and or your children. They're going to make a mess of it most likely. But
Yeah.
it is the atmosphere that the wife sets the atmosphere, the mother sets the atmosphere of a home. And if you feel like you don't have a home, then maybe it's you who is not doing their job, who is not setting herself in that position. You need to take your place.
Yeah.
Whether you are alone or with children, you definitely need to make your house a home.
Yes.
Even if you're alone, make your house a home. Why wouldn't you? I'm
Yeah.
about to move. Everybody knows I'm about to move to a beautiful
Yes.
place. I'm already looking at, obviously my mind is going on. Number one, which home to take, because now I'm looking at two. That's the other thing.
Okay.
Now it's
Oh,
two. And the other thing is, of course, that you think already how to make that house a home. Because until you walk into it, it's not going to be a home. So you need to take the atmosphere and make it your own.
Yes.
Turn it into something that benefits and nurtures your children, your husband, or your guests, or your grandchildren, or your nieces, nephews, a place that they can come to, a place that is a refuge, a place
Yes.
where they can rest, a place, above all, a place of peace.
Yes.
A home should be, and a
Mhm.
place where they feel safe, where they can talk. They're not going to be yelled at. They're not going to be, I don't know, you understand, a
Well,
place
sometimes
they
that
like
happens.
to go to. Yeah, a
wow.
place where they like to go to, that they are
Yeah.
joyful. Oh yeah, we're gonna go to auntie, we're gonna go to grandfather, we're gonna go
Yeah.
to grandmother. A place they would look forward to go to. And
Yes.
that's your job as a woman, the queen of the house, to make sure you have that beautiful atmosphere. It's not just the ornaments or the little things, those are very much needed in my opinion, but it's just the way you flow, is the way you take the atmosphere, you exude that atmosphere of yourself. That's what makes a house a home. So Any last verse from Mark, maybe?
Yeah, I was just going to say you were talking a little bit earlier about not being a mother and yet raising lots of children by being a mentor to them. And there's a lady who lives immediately across from us, and she and her husband, because I don't want to age her, I don't want to say the wrong age, but she could be a grandmother now. She's of that age, and but she and her husband tried to have children. They both always wanted to have children, and
Yeah.
they just were not able to. And now what she does is she loves children so much. So because we have three, she has taken it upon herself and she's asked for permission. Every change of the season, we have a bench just outside the home. She'll come, she'll decorate it with the girls.
Oh,
All my grandchildren are girls here in the home. Anyway, and so she'll do that. She will talk to them about what the season is about. She'll take them back to her place. She'll make them cookies and spoil them, give them
I
candies,
love
give
that.
them ice cream. But whenever maybe they're having a little bit of a tough time with mom and dad or whatever, usually one of the first things is, can we go over to Mrs. Carroll's? So,
I
so
love that.
there's
That's
a
how
lot of
community should
yeah.
work. That's exactly how it should work.
Yeah, and so she's so sweet and so kind, and just every so often they'll buy something that was a little bit too much for the two of them. Um, though I do think sometimes it's on purpose, but and then she will,
You-
and then she'll bring the extra over,
Yeah.
and give some just to
Mhm.
bless us and so on. So they're very, very sweet, but that's something that they are not only able to do. You might be able to do it, but then you also have to be willing to do it and follow through.
Yeah.
And she does a very, very good job of it. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that and to say that
That's beautiful. So that could be you if you don't have children out there.
yeah, yeah,
That could
that's
be
right.
anyone. That
That's
could
right.
be a grandfather. That could be a grandmother in terms of age.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
see how Mark's children and grandchildren are so coveting that. They love that.
Oh,
So that means there's a niche for it. There's a need for it.
Yeah, yeah,
mhm.
Yeah.
that's right.
Mhm.
Love it. Good.
So
Shall we take communion?
Yes.
yes, I
Maybe
have.
Mark, you should lead us since you're not here every week.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my idea too. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just be very simple. Jesus, you paid the price on the cross for us. Your body was broken for us,
Mhm.
that we would be whole. Your blood was shed for us, that we could become sinless and pure. You fulfilled what we needed that we could not do of ourselves. You are love, and you did this out of love for us. And so we take the bread and we remember, Jesus, you said, as often as you get together, do this, break bread. So we break the bread and we take the very life of God into us as we consume the bread in remembrance and in reality in the spiritual realm in Jesus' name.
Amen.
When we remember Jesus, the blood that was shed for the remission of sins, for the complete separation of sin from us because of the blood, that you no longer see us as sinful,
Mhm.
but you yourself are righteous and you have made us righteous.
Amen.
Jesus, we don't take that for granted.
No.
We remember.
Mhm.
And so we take the blood and we thank you. We
Thank
thank you for all you've done for us.
Mhm.
Thank you, Lord.
Amen.
And the Spirit is speaking about you, Princess Reka.
Mm-hmm.
When you are moving, don't look for cheap things. Look for excellent things. And it will become an overflow to refurnish your and decorate your new home. Don't have any concern about it. That's what I receive in my spirit, and he loved to bless you in an abundant way. He loved to bless you in abundance, and so it will be, Mrs. Reagan. And
Amen.
for
I receive it.
and for Mark, I receive my spirit. I say it before, new ways, new revelations,
Mm.
and new insights the coming weeks and months for you and your wife. New insights, new revelations, and you will hear together with the Lord. This is the way. Walk the direction. Walk the direction together. You will hear very clear. And for Celia, I've prayed a lot for you these days, and over the Lord I've prayed for you, and know that what your Father hasn't given to you, your Heavenly Father will give it in plenty, in love, and He is very in love of you, and He is very proud of you, and He always say to the people and to the heavenly host in heaven, look at my daughter Celia, how she's doing. She's doing so well. So remember that you are loved by Jesus and loved by the Father. And it's a pleasure for them to live in you. So that's it.
Amen. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, that's wonderful. So this has been another edition of the Royal Club. We have discussed children, yes or no. I hope you took something away from it. If not, maybe you need to watch it again. But we shall see you next Wednesday. No, Tuesday. Tuesday is next Tuesday. Love you guys. Have a wonderful week.
God bless. Bye. Thank you.